Hi, and welcome to the TD Meetup. My name is Alexander Richter. I'm a technical director for visual effects, animation, and games, and I worked at companies like WeatherFX and Framestore on Avatar: The Way of Water and Monsters at Work. Hello and welcome everyone to the TD Meetup. This is a new format I wanted to create to kind of have this opportunity for people who joined me throughout the masterclasses, coaching, everyone specifically. So you have the opportunity kind of to tackle topics throughout that, because it's great to look into something like Python. It's great to get to understand how to apply for a job, but there's a variety of topics throughout our lives. And if you want to go through the challenges of becoming someone in visual effects, animation, and games, there's just a variety of topics that you have to kind of work with and challenge yourself. And this specifically was the idea of everyone who wants to become a technical director in the future, who is a technical director now, or obviously technical artists, or people who are interested in technical topics. This is basically a get-together to talk about this topic. Just to understand where I'm going with AI intro, it will be more on the absolute basics. So today we will not look into how to use Python AI or something like that. That will be, I think, something that I can imagine doing in the future. But today is more about the basic understanding of that, taking away all the confusion from this topic, bringing it back to reality, and also how to play with the current opportunities that we basically have. So that is the level that we're going with that for today. I think where we have to start, and it's the most confusing thing for most people, is what is AI, what is machine learning, and to some degree deep learning. I think that already starts with, I think 70, 80, 90% of people, even in visual effects, even TDs, they don't really understand the separation. And so we have to make sure that this is super clear when we talk about that. So basically, if you see the three circles, that is what it is. So if we talk about artificial intelligence, we automatically talk about machine learning, and we automatically talk about deep learning. So basically, artificial intelligence includes machine learning and includes deep learning. Machine learning includes deep learning. So it's this kind of thing. So if someone talks about AI, they basically talk about all three things at the same time, because you need all three things to create artificial intelligence. And deep learning is a specific version of machine learning. So just to kind of summarize, artificial intelligence is the theory and the development of computer systems able to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence. Machine learning gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. And deep learning is the machine learning algorithms with brain-like logical structure of algorithms called artificial neural networks. That's just the basic stuff. Obviously, that's something Googleable. Let's move on. So first thing, what is AI? And AI is the science concerned with building machines that can reason, learn, and act in a way normally required human intelligence. And that's the idea. AI is basically a machine that can reflect us, that when we interact with it, like in a way like ChatGPT, for example, in a text-based situation, you would think this is a person on the other side that chats with me, that does the things with me or talks with me or something like that. And that's the idea, like the full-blown idea of AI is to recreate a human. It can be in text-based, it can be in production-based, like you produce 3D, 2D, whatever. That's the highest level that you have. And to do AI correctly, you need computer science, data analytics, statistics, hardware and software engineering, linguistics, neuroscience, even philosophy and psychology. As we noticed, if you looked into ChatGPT, it has an opinion. It can avoid and say, this is maybe a little bit touchy subject. I'm not sure if I can make a joke about that. That's all included in doing real AI. And this is basically the definition that I find from Google, is AI is a set of technologies that are based primarily on machine learning and deep learning, used for data analytics, prediction, forecasting, object categorization, natural language processing, recommendations, intelligent data retrieval, and more. In a way, AI is the next step of normal programming. So if we learn how to do Python, we basically have this box, and in this box, it can do things. But with AI, there is this thing where it basically can react itself with this information. It can do with machine learning, which we talk next. It can basically, like we humans, it can interact with new things that we didn't program, and that is the level that basically we're going. If we talk about AI, we need to talk also about machine and to some degree deep learning. And basically the idea is, first thing, we have to understand what is machine learning. And machine learning means computer learning from data using algorithms to perform a task without being explicitly programmed. And I think the best way to understand machine learning is basically you give a software a bunch of information, like for example, a bunch of pictures, and they learn to find faces. Like, so if you give a machine 1 million face pictures, then after 1 million times, they like, okay, a face is some round shapes like the eyes. There's some kind of round oval shapes like the mouth. So they basically, the more data you give machine learning, the more they can figure out a pattern. And that's what machine learning basically is. And if you think about how you can use it in our environment, for example, for compositors, you can basically create something, you can basically fill it with data and then use it to track things, So after a while, it knows where the car is, so it will automatically track the car. You will not need to track it manually or with the least reliable tracking algorithm, because it will identify the shape of the car, the colors, and where it basically is. And it also enables system learn and improve using neural networks and deep learning without being explicitly programmed. So there is this element where the difference to our normal programming is basically we don't have to tell it how to find the conclusion. It finds it through pattern recognition, basically, and then does it at the end of the day. And basically, the easiest way to make machine learning better is more data. The more data you have, the better. So it's better to have a machine learning algorithm who has 1 million pictures compared to 1,000 pictures. That's the easiest way. So if your tracking is not good and you have a machine learning algorithm, then if you give more information, your tracking becomes better as long as the information is good. That's the thing. We will talk about that in ChatGPT too. And then on a quick side note, there's this word or this expression called deep learning. And the difference is deep learning uses a complex structure of algorithms modeled on a human brain. And both, as I said, are artificial intelligence. And so if you look at this example, you can see a little bit what's the difference between machine learning and deep learning. So let's say you have a software that analyzes images, for example, can be also. So we have like a car image. So if you do machine learning, there has to be some kind of a programmer who says what kind of features this car should have, and then through a lot of car images, if you show the machine learning algorithm this image, it will say, this is a car because I saw 1 million cars and you predefined what you're looking for. So now I understand what a car is, and so on. Deep learning basically takes a little bit the human aspect away, and you need to add logic. So it's not just filling it information and telling a little bit what to look for. It's basically you give it a lot of information, like with machine learning, but it also defines. If you show them 1 million photos of cars, it will automatically figure out, yeah, this seems to be a 4-wheel transportation thing, blah blah blah, and then deducts this is a car, basically. So it's a smarter version of machine learning, basically. So so that's the levels to understand how this works at the end of the day. And here is, for example, an example how you can use machine learning. In this case, this is an example for deep learning, actually. You have this image here on the left side. It's a photo, and then you take a painting, and then you create this combination of both. This doesn't work like one by one. So you cannot just give this picture, and this will be the result automatically. That the result will be bad because there's only two pictures, and it will just try to find the middle ground. Basically, that will never work. So what we need to do is we need to train our machine, or whatever we will learn, our AI, basically to learn this style. And the best way to learn the style is, for example, to find the artist of this, and then basically feed the machine as many of the artist pictures as possible, so the machine can find basically the pattern. So if you give Monet or Picasso or something, you just throw all Picasso or image, or tell the machine to search the internet, search for Picasso, save the picture, and then create an understanding. And then after a while, it basically kind of understands how Picasso paints, and then basically it can repaint the content that we give it to do that. So basically, machine learning will be the part that kind of train a singular system to capture and generalize, understand how the painting style works. And the deep learning is also to not just clash the colors together and say goodnight. It's also to really logically change the original picture to the understanding of the artist, to create something that would be done by the artist itself. So it's not just stupid one, like combining. It's literally, if the artist would paint this left picture, how would it look like? So it's a little bit more logically sophisticated if you talk about deep learning, when you just like basically talk about machine learning. And so there's also, I think, at the end of the day, so that's basically the all the basics that I wanted to capture for the beginning, is to just give a broader understanding of that thing. I definitely want to discuss this, because for me, what we like, when I finish my talk, what I would like to do is to make it very clear what this is, what is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. So it is very clear when we talk about one, what that means. But I also want you to understand it, at least in a way that you say, like, okay, where would I personally need machine learning? Where would I personally need artificial intelligence? Either on the side of the consumer, as we have nowadays with all the Mid-Journeys and ChatGPTs and so on, but also as a side of the Python programmers. A lot of you did my Python masterclass, and it's like, hey, is there an opportunity for me personally as a compositor, rigger, or whatnot, to use machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning to work better, to enhance my Python code, to enhance my 3D work, and so on. So that's the main idea. But before we can do that, we have to first understand how all of these works. Because, yeah, if we are already confused by it and it all sounds too, you just throw some prompt in some software and everything is magically going, it already starts to be confusing. So that is the part. The second part that I want to talk about is on the user side. So we basically defined AI and machine learning and deep learning. Now I would like to also start, before we ever go into, hey, I'm programming my own Python machine learning software or whatever. I think we should start in general with what is out there. What can I use to help with my work? What is the thing? And most of them probably are not surprising. You know, I think everyone knows ChatGPT by now. I think it's the thing. Some of you maybe try it, some of you maybe don't. There's ChatGPT also can now do images. There is obviously Mid-Journey to generate images. There is Photoshop AI to manipulate images, or to some degree, Runway ML to create moving images, videos. Basically, there is specific for code, the Git Copilot. There is Autopod for editing, which I used for my podcast to automatically cut and change the view if you have two podcasters talking with each other, and million other things. So one of the things that I asked just in general to get a little bit of an understanding is, it was on LinkedIn, so it was basically visual effects, animation, and games people, is what are the people using at the moment, you know, what they're playing around. So from this just 53 votes, basically most people were playing around with ChatGPT. It seems to be the one that people, if they use any AI tools at the moment, it's ChatGPT to help with their work, or bureaucracy or whatever they do use it specifically. There was a little bit Midjourney, there was a little bit Photoshop, and a little bit from something else, basically. So that's the side of tools. There's, again, millions of other tools. It's basically an endless list. As much as it's important to see what kind of tools it is, we also have to address what kind of fear we have, because before we can use the tool and before we can write our own tools, we have to understand what's out there, and we all have to understand what is the thing that is coming, what is the point of AI, or what is the fear of AI, basically. And there's just the Oppenheimer movie, and so there was this quote I kind of liked that kind of also relates to AI, even though it was made for the Manhattan Project. We knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried, most people were silent. Now I become death, the destroyer of worlds. And that is the biggest fear that everyone has with AI. Obviously, it's not the Terminator 2 yet, but there is an element of that. So I was wondering, what is the biggest fear with AI at the moment for this current generation of AI, basically? And that was the result. So I give like 3 options plus others, and I asked, do people fear that they replace me? Generic content, it become more complicated and technical, or something else? And the majority of people find them that besides replace me, was some people were afraid of that, but most people were afraid of generic content. It's like, kind of a maybe replacement is in there, but it's basically like, you get spammed with content. Everyone can create now YouTube videos by doing that. Everyone can create images or art or whatever by just typing it into Midjourney, and then just that's it. Here's a PDF created by ChatGPT with 10-sentence input of me. So I think there is this thing of basically not only removing the human part, but basically destroying the quality of things, because now some machine learning algorithm creates the art, or some ChatGPT AI explains how things are and whatever. So there's this fear of just having generic content that has no meaning, no purpose, and no soul. And obviously some people are afraid of being replaced because, the question is legit to say, hey, do I need to learn Python if I can just ask ChatGPT to give me code? Do I need to learn art if I can just ask Midjourney to create a thumbnail or an image or even a video? So that's the big thing. With fear, I also want to bring reality a little bit into that. And the reality part is basically that AI growth is not linear. Just because we have this current situation doesn't mean that in 10 years it will automatically be 10 times more extreme and better. So there's this article recently that says over just a few months, ChatGPT went from correctly answering a math problem 98% of the time to just 2%. So, and the reason for that is very simple. The reason that why ChatGPT suddenly, for example, is worse in math than before is because ChatGPT relies on input. As we learn from machine learning, the more data you give it, the more it can find the middle ground. It can find, okay, if this all pictures are cars, then this new picture that you show me is also a car. But what happens if someone feeds the machine learning algorithm giraffes and motor bicycles and whatever, and never told him that these are not cars? So suddenly it will be confused about, is that okay, it seems to be a car can be 2 wheels, car can have no wheels, car have either. So it's easy to on the machine learning side, it's easy to fill the wrong information, and then on the AI side, the software suddenly thinks, hey, this is the conclusion, so this is my reaction, kind of. And so that's the thing. So there is an element of AI being overhyped, ChatGPT being overhyped, Midjourney overhyped, and you can see that if you use it. So if any one of you uses ChatGPT or Midjourney, and you use it very focused on having a specific quality, a specific result, you will very easily find out that it will not be as good as you at the moment. It will not be as good as you expect. It will not be as good as, or even far away from what you wanted, basically. So how I see at the moment AI, and especially things like ChatGPT or something, is more like Google 2.0. It's basically you have a problem, you approach the AI like ChatGPT and you say, hey, give me this, I have this question, what will be your answer? Hey, I have this idea, what do you think? And so on. So it's basically like an interaction in a forum where you directly go to the solution instead of Google. Like you Google something, you Google an error or a problem, and then you get all these links and you have to go through all of them and search. If you ask something like ChatGPT, it will automatically give you a solution. Doesn't mean it's the right solution, but at least it will like narrow it down specifically to your situation. And I think that is the level that it is. So I will basically define at the moment the whole AI generation as limited but useful. And there is there is career opportunities in there, but we are not on the level, and that will not happen in the next years, where you don't need to learn anything. You don't need to learn Python or 3D or something like that, because the quality is just not there. And we still need people who at minimum supervise, even if they can generate things. And we need people who basically know how good things are and not, because a lot of times if you have no clue, you just say, oh, looks good enough for me. Here's an example I wanted to show you with the current situation, because if we talk about the current generation of AI, I also want to make sure that we are clear about how good it works. So I had this situation. If you saw it, it was the TD Meetup introduction video. And what I wanted is, I had this digital production text here. I was like, yeah, sure. So what I want to do is I want to replace it with TD Meetup. You know, I can do some After Effects magic. I was like, okay, you know what? What I do is I created a screenshot of this. I put it into Photoshop, and I told the Photoshop AI, this content-aware filler AI, to fill. Like I selected this part here, and I said fill with black color. I don't think that's very difficult. Like I don't think it's very complicated. You know, so this is the result. Not only is it the opposite of black, it also has kind of copied the top part here at the bottom, and I just went with it. I just added TD Meetup and was like, whatever, who cares? So that, and if you even try to select this part and say replace the digital production thing with TD Meetup or something like that, absolute worst, like absolutely nothing. The text doesn't make sense. There are letters that doesn't exist. It's absolute garbage. So this is how good Photoshop AI is. At the moment, it is. I saw a few interesting videos where they replaced backgrounds and created castles and whatnot. And to some degree, I'm pretty sure it can do that. But it's very limited. Really doesn't understand a lot of times what you want, and it often, like, it cannot work with text, zero. And it can really only, like, it can generate new content, but it's not good in content filling at the moment, at least not from what I tested a few times. So it is basically, you do the content filling, you know, the content aware filling, that's quite okayish. And then you can use the Photoshop AI content fill to generate, you know, a little bit background, change a little bit here and there. But the level is at the moment pretty laughable for this like mind-blowing tool, honestly. So every Photoshop artist can do a 10 times better job than this shit. So the other part is, I also wanted to see how I can generate basically new content. So I tried one of the image generation called Night Cafe AI. And what I needed a thumbnail for my article about AI. So I was like, okay, let's go to Night Cafe AI. I mean, I can use BitJourney. Obviously, the qualities can be a little bit different and so on. But I mean, you just try one of them and see how it goes. So I went to Night Cafe and I wanted to create a thumbnail. So I said, the title was "Will AI Replace Us?" or something like that. And so I was okay. So let's say something like a human alone between AI. And I just wanted happens, because obviously I can write like a few sentences or something. I was just like, so these were the results, and I struggle hardly to find at least maybe one of them which I would consider even close to my description. It's a very short description giving that, but I don't really know what this has to do with the eye, or this, or like, I mean, this one has like the mountain. I don't know. Alone, it's just alone, but that's the thing. This is just the fingers, maybe, is the eye part. I don't really know. So it's from the 6 results, maybe this one is the closest. I did probably 10 or 20 or something, and so. And I don't like any of them, honestly. So if I would have to pick a thumbnail, I would not pick any of them, because I found it. And obviously you have to play around. It's all about iteration. This is a very important part. Working with the eye is about, it's like with you communicate with an artist, and you have to iterate and explain, so they really figure out what you want. So that is a very important part of that. So it's not just you type in a few sentences and the AI will automatically generate exactly what you have in mind. But so far, I always a little bit kind of disappointed in the results. And for me, what I got here is literally a mood board at best, or something I can start with as an idea or something like that. But I would not use any of them as a final, just literally. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at the result, it's literally I literally didn't use them. I used them as background, just because I found him so ugly, I could not bring myself to use them as the thumbnail. So I just use them as the background. But that's the level it is. So like if you, from my experience and me testing all of them, and I have a lot of experience with the Autopod editing in Premiere. I have a lot of experience with ChatGPT and so on. All of them at the moment are on the level of intelligent but not smart. So they can help you. They're like an intern that can help you, but they are never on the level where you're like, yeah, absolutely, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I will use. I generate my images. I would generate my copywriting. I generate my code. Not really. Especially if you have I'm pretty sure there are people who say like, great, I use them. But if you have standards, if you have quality, if you have things like that, you will not use that. So the level, I personally would say, is not there at the moment. But there's potential, and I think there's potential for iterating to getting ideas. With this I can like, oh yeah, this is a great idea, I like this, let me build on that, let me make something else, or let me use that as a base or something like that. And I think that is the level that we can go. So obviously, if we talk about AI, I was thinking like, why not ask the AI what it thinks about itself? So I asked, hey, give me 10 bullet points, title how ChatGPT can be used to help for Python coding. So this is something also combined with what you guys, most of you learned with me. So I was like wondering, is there something that ChatGPT can bring and help us become better? And so this is are the things that it came up to be. So first one is code auto-completion. So basically, you could just give a little bit of that. Maybe it's also kind of means maybe with pseudocode. Maybe you can also do that. It can do syntax checking, which probably goes back to the debugging, because I don't know, like syntax checking, I mean, Python does that. Code explanation and documentation. Yeah, you basically give it a bunch of code and ask like, hey, what does that mean? I don't understand this part. Again, asterisk with everything I just said. It's just what it says. Error debugging assistance, algorithm design, optimization, learning Python concept and best practices, so kind of a teaching, project planning and architecture suggestions, library and framework recommendations. So for example, I would like to create a video game. How do I build the engine or whatever? So that could be like something I can imagine. Code refactoring guidance, for example, with everyone who did the advanced masterclass with me, it will be like PEP 8, things like that. And read real-time code examples and prototyping. So basically, in a way, you ask ChatGPT, the AI ChatGPT, how to build your own AI, for example, would be an example. So that's the part where I kind of would like to go to the next part, to the next and final part of this introduction. Is basically So we talked about what AI, machine learning, and deep learning is. We talked about what it means in terms of theory and reality. And now I think what part is to go, before we go into it as a Python user or something like that, we definitely have to go into it as a user itself. And to go into something like this, we have to understand how it works. Because if you are just going into ChatGPT or Midjourney or whatever, and you just communicate like you would communicate with me or you or others, it will not work. There is a system that you have to follow. And the way that you communicate basically with all AIs is through prompts. It's this short description command that you want, basically. And for example, I want to show you an example here. So I had this problem, and I wanted to ask ChatGPT to solve it for me, in this case for Python in Maya. So I said, how can I export the scene with Python in Maya? So, and then ChatGPT started to explain to me and stuff like that. But if you noticed, it kind of explains it to me in a very, like, I have no clue about anything situation. It literally explains what CMDS is. Everyone who did Python for Maya with me knows what CMDS is, but it explains it. It explains basically every line of code. So it means my prompt that I sent to ChatGPT was not the way that I actually wanted it. So there is a logic and understanding of how to ask question. So I rephrase it and I asked it a little bit different. I am a 3D modeler in Maya without any experience in scripting. You are a teacher explaining how I can export the scene as an OBJ in Maya with Python. And if you see here, it goes into a different direction. It explains me things like, how do I open the script editor? Because, as I said, I have no clue. It talks about specific things, but you can see it doesn't really talk about CMDS because it doesn't really matter for me at the moment. I just want this running, and I want to have every step on the way, basically. But I don't really care about all the specifics. And so it kind of goes that. So by changing the way I ask or command, it absolutely changed completely on achieving what I want or not achieving what I want, basically. And so what's the magic here? The magic is basically to answer a few questions in your prompts. And the first question that you should ask is, or answer basically, and it should be part of your prompt, is the what. What action do I want it to do? In this case, it should explain to me how to export the scene as an OBJ Maya in Python. That's the only thing that I did last time, basically. The other thing, which is not here at the moment, is basically the when. Is there a time scale? So, for example, if you want to learn 3D in Maya in 6 weeks, that would be a timeline. So it's basically like, how long should that be? Where? There's a location. In this case, for example, locations could be defined a little bit of in Maya with Python, kind of like, what is the context, which is basically, who are you? Like, what is the environment? Where do you use it? Is it in visual effects or in data science? So it makes a big difference. Then the voice. What is the voice of the person that you're talking to? Is that a teacher? Is that your mom? Is that somewhere else? Is like, who is because the voice means also, how do they talk to you? Do they sell it to you? Do they explain it to you? Do they just jump to the solution? How should they communicate it with you? And the last but not least is the format. Is basically like I did before, as you saw, give me 10 titles as bullet points. Is it bullet points? Do you want links? Do you want to have a course, curriculum? So basically, you define the box that it will be presented. Do you want long text, short text, whatever? So that's the thing. And if you look at this prompt that I used, you find most of them in them. Who are we talking about? Basically, I'm a 3D modeler. That's kind of the my who, but also who is explaining. You are a teacher. You're not a 3D supervisor. You're not an AI. You're a teacher. Then why? Why do I want this? Or why do I ask, basically? Because I have no experience and I have no clue. So how do you want it? I want it explained, but I can also have it, broken down into weeks of whatever and so on. So there's like, what's the format? And then basically, what do I want to have? And where you can define, for example, also in terms of like just Python or in Maya or in there and stuff like that. So by asking this or answering this question with your prompt, most of them at least, you make it, you give the most important part that AI needs, context. Because the problem with AI in general compared to us humans is it doesn't understand the environment it plays. It is it's abstract. Everything we do is abstract. So by telling something about ourselves, by telling something about the AI, by telling something more about the surrounding, we help the AI to understand more what we need and arrive at the results that we want. In real life, to some degree, we do that too. If any of you go to a logo artist and want their own personal logo, you obviously say, I want this name and whatever, I want it in this style. But there's an element where you still have to communicate, and the 3D and the logo artist will not understand 100% what you want, and you have to communicate more and more. But there's also an element where he knows that he's a logo artist, that's his thing. So he will not ask some of the question because it's clear what we do here. But in this case, in most cases, it's not a logo ChatGPT, it's not a Maya Python ChatGPT. So there's an element of a little bit like with Google, you have to clarify, where are we? What is the context of the situation? So it can deliver more on that thing that you actually want at the end of the day. A little bit as a summary, I kind of recommend you to, if you didn't already, to watch the episode if you want to learn more about machine learning with Paul Kaniak. We talked about machine learning, a little bit AI, especially in this case for animation. We talked about Ratatouille, about crowds, and so on. So if you want to dive a little bit deeper, especially in our industry, I recommend it to watch this episode. There's definitely a little bit more about that element. Actually, I just remembered also the episode with Eugenie von Tutzelmann about passion in visual effects. At the end, we talk about her simulation thing where she, like, I think it was about running, and you all of you, I think most of you probably saw this AI simulation where a 3D object starts to learn running after iteration and iteration. In the beginning, it just falls down, and then after 100 iterations, it starts to crawl and so on. So basically, that is the idea here. So yeah, I highly recommend that. If you want to look into all of these topics and where I got them, there's here a few links. Basically, and so most of them I got from Google Cloud itself. Pretty nice how this works. There's also one explaining difference between deep learning, machine learning, and so on. So if you're interested in that part, the main idea was to every month to pick a topic. I do an introduction to the topic, explain the basics so everyone's more or less on the same level, hopefully. And then the rest of the time, we have a debate. We can do a little bit longer than 1 hour. That's fine too. And if you have questions, you can share your experience. I just throw in like ChatGPT. If you have an experience with one of them, let us know. That's it from my part. So any of you guys have anything to add? Do you have any experience with any of the AI tools? Did you use them? Did you write one? Or do you have questions to what I just said, and so on? So I welcome you to join us live and also watch the previous episodes, and I'll see you on our next TD Meetup.